The grand idea, tackling the Great Ocean Road. Australia. It's a big place. An enormous place, really. You could fit several Englands in it and still have room for a few Waleses. And down in its southeastern corner, there's this road. They call it the Great Ocean Road. A rather grand title, you might think, but then you see it. And you think, yes, fair enough. It's not just a road, you see. It's an experience, a proper adventure with twists and turns and views that make your jaw drop, or at least make you nod appreciatively. This road wasn't just slapped down by some bored council worker. Oh no, it was built by soldiers, returned soldiers after the First World War. Can you imagine? Carving this thing out of cliff faces, with basic tools probably. It's a memorial, really. The world's largest war memorial, they say, which is quite something. So driving it isn't just about pretty views. It's about history. It's about remembering. And it's about not driving off the edge while you're thinking about all that, which, believe me, can be a challenge. So, the plan was hatched. Drive this famous road, see these famous rocks, get a bit of sun, try not to encounter too many of Australia's famously bitey or stingy creatures. It seemed like a good plan, a sensible plan even, for Australia. The Great Ocean Road stretches for about 243 kilometres, or 151 miles, for those of us still clinging to imperial measurements. It officially starts in a place called Torquay, and it ends somewhere near Allansford. Though, to be honest, the good bits are mostly before that. The promise of it all is quite something. Dramatic cliffs, roaring ocean, cute little towns, maybe a koala or two if you squint hard enough into the eucalyptus trees. It's the sort of trip people dream about, the kind you see in glossy brochures, where everyone is smiling and the sun is always shining. I was prepared for a bit more reality. Maybe some rain, definitely some wind. But the call of the open road, especially one this famous, was too strong to ignore. It was time to see what all the fuss was about. First wheels on the asphalt, Torquay's surfy welcome, Torquay. This is where it all kicks off. The official starting gate, if you will. And Torquay, it turns out, is rather keen on surfing. Very keen. You can't swing a didgeridoo without hitting a surf shop, or someone who looks like they've just stepped off a surfboard, or is about to step onto one. Brands like Rip Curl and Quicksilver, born here. So, you get the picture. It's serious surfing business. Even if you, like me, think surfing mostly involves falling off a board into cold water, repeatedly. The air smells of salt and sunscreen. There's a certain laid-back vibe. People wander about in board shorts and thongs, flip-flops for the uninitiated. An important distinction in Australia, I've learned. The beaches here are famous. Bells Beach, just down the road, is practically legendary. Host to international surfing competitions, where tanned gods and goddesses ride enormous waves. Also, I'm told. I contented myself with watching from a safe, dry distance. It all looked very impressive, and very wet. Getting the car sorted and pointing it west felt like a proper start. The road begins fairly tamely here. A gentle introduction. Not too many terrifying cliff-edge moments straight away, which is probably for the best. Allows you to ease into it, to get used to driving on the correct side of the road, if you're from somewhere else, and to marvel at how blue the sky can be. When it's not cloudy, of course. Australia does good sky, most of the time. The first few kilometres are a pleasant cruise. You pass signs for beaches with names like Jan Juke, which sounds like something you'd cough up, but is apparently a lovely spot. The excitement builds. You know the really dramatic stuff is coming, the famous bits. But there's a charm to these early stretches too. The anticipation, the feeling of embarking on something iconic, even if at this stage it's mostly just a nice road by the sea. A very nice road, mind you. A bed for the night coastal comforts and quirky stays. Now, driving the Great Ocean Road isn't something you rush. Oh dear me, no. That would be missing the point entirely. You need to stop. You need to potter. You need to find a place to lay your weary head, and thankfully there are plenty of options. From fancy hotels with ocean views that cost an arm and a leg, to cosy little bed and breakfasts run by cheerful ladies named Pam, who will probably offer you scones, and you should probably accept. You'll find motels, proper, old-school motels, where you can park your car right outside your door, which is terribly convenient, especially if you've overpacked, which I invariably do. There are holiday parks too, with cabins and caravan spots, full of families having a jolly time, and the occasional slightly grumpy-looking grey nomad who has seen it all before, but is probably enjoying it deep down, or maybe just enjoying the discount. Hard to say. In towns like Lorne and Apollo Bay, you'll find a good concentration of choices. Lorne is a bit swish, a bit fashionable, with boutique hotels and apartments that look like they belong in a magazine. Apollo Bay is perhaps a bit more down to earth, more relaxed, but both are lovely spots to pause, to recharge the batteries, both yours and your cameras, because you will be taking a lot of photos, an awful lot. And then there are the quirkier options, a converted lighthouse keeper's cottage perhaps, or a secluded cabin tucked away in the Otway rainforest, just a short detour from the coast. Imagine waking up to the sound of kookaburras laughing, or more likely making a noise that sounds like they're being strangled, but in a charming Australian way. The point is, there's something for everyone, whether you want luxury or just a clean bed and a hot shower, which, after a day of wind and sea spray, is pretty luxurious in itself. Fueling the adventure eats and treats along the drive. A road trip of this magnitude requires sustenance. One cannot simply live on views alone, though goodness knows the views here try their best to fill you up. Thankfully, the Great Ocean Road is not a culinary desert, far from it. There are delightful little cafes, cheery bakeries, and pubs that serve up hearty meals, usually involving chips, lots and lots of chips, which is no bad thing in my book. Seafood, as you might expect, is a bit of a star, being right next to the, well, Great Ocean, fresh fish, calamari that hasn't been frozen for 6 months, oysters if you're feeling brave, or sophisticated. I often find myself feeling neither, but I appreciate the option. Many restaurants in towns like Lorne and Apollo Bay will have a catch of the day, which sounds promising, as long as the catch wasn't a particularly old boot. The smaller towns, the ones you might blink and miss, often have hidden gems. A tiny general store that does a surprisingly good coffee, or a pie shop where the pies are clearly made with love. And a lot of gravy. These are the finds that make a trip memorable. Discovering a local delicacy, or just a really, really good sausage roll. It's the simple pleasures, isn't it? Especially when you're on the move. And don't forget the picnic potential. This road is practically begging you to stop, to find a scenic spot, to unpack a hamper, or, more realistically, a slightly squashed sandwich and a packet of crisps. But it will taste like the finest banquet, with the Southern Ocean as your dining companion. Just watch out for the seagulls. They are audacious, and they have an uncanny ability to spot a vulnerable chip from a mile away. Crafty blighters. Section 5. Beyond the bends, lighthouses, legends, and little towns. The Great Ocean Road is more than just a pretty drive, though it is undeniably very pretty. It's also dotted with history, and with stories, and with very tall, pointy buildings designed to stop ships from crashing into things. Lighthouses. There's something inherently romantic about them, isn't there? Standing guard, through storms and sunshine. Cape Otway Lighthouse is a particularly famous one. The oldest working lighthouse on mainland Australia, apparently. That's a lot of light beaming. You can climb it, you know, the lighthouse, if you've got the puff. And a head for heights. The views from the top are, as you'd expect, rather spectacular. You can see why they put it there. Miles and miles of ocean, and quite a lot of rather menacing-looking coastline. It's easy to imagine the olden days, ships navigating these treacherous waters, relying on that single beam of light. It makes you appreciate modern GPS, and also possibly feel a bit seasick just thinking about it. The little towns along the way each have their own character. Lorne, as I mentioned, is a bit chic. It has a lovely beach and a slightly more bustling feel. Apollo Bay is a fishing town at heart, with a beautiful, wide crescent of sand and a very relaxed atmosphere. You'll find art galleries, little craft shops, places selling locally made fudge, which is always a good sign. It means people care. About fudge, at least. And then there are the legends. Stories of shipwrecks. This stretch of coast is called the Shipwreck Coast for a reason. Dozens of vessels met their end here, battered by storms, fooled by the rugged cliffs. The most famous is the Loch Ard, wrecked in 1878. Only 2 survivors, a young man and a young woman. It's a dramatic tale. And you can visit Loch Ard Gorge, see where it all happened. It adds a layer of poignant history to the stunning scenery. Makes you think. Section 6. Gasp-worthy panoramas. Where the views just don't quit. Right, let's talk about the views, because let's be honest, that's a big part of why you're here. The Great Ocean Road is essentially a very long, very winding viewing platform. Every bend seems to reveal something new, something even more astonishing than the last. You'll find yourself pulling over, a lot, at designated lookouts, and sometimes at slightly less designated spots. Carefully, of course. Don't want to cause a traffic incident or roll down a cliff. There are famous lookouts, like Teddy's Lookout near Lorne, which gives you a fantastic view of the St. George River meeting the sea, and the road snaking along the coast. It's one of those aha moments, where you really get a sense of the landscape, the scale of it all, the way the forest tumbles down to the ocean. It's quite something. You'll need to make sure your camera battery is fully charged, and that you have plenty of space on your memory card. Seriously. But it's not just the big signposted lookouts. Sometimes the best views are unexpected. A gap in the trees, a sudden reveal as you round a headland, the way the light hits the water at a certain time of day. These are the moments that stick with you, the ones that make you just stop and breathe and try to take it all in, which is impossible, of course. It's too much, too vast, too beautiful, but you try anyway. And the cliffs. Oh, the cliffs. They are magnificent, sheer drops, jagged edges, sculpted by wind and wave over millennia, sometimes golden in the sun, sometimes dark and brooding under clouds. They are a constant presence, a reminder of the power of nature and of your own smallness in the grand scheme of things, which can be a rather sobering thought, but also, strangely, quite liberating. Makes your own little worries seem a bit less important somehow. Section 7. Sandy toes and salty breezes, beaches galore. You can't have a great ocean road without, well, the ocean. And where there's ocean, there are usually beaches. This road does not disappoint on that front. There are beaches for surfers, beaches for swimmers, beaches for paddlers, beaches for people who just want to sit and stare at the waves, which is a perfectly valid activity, and one I heartily endorse. It's very therapeutic, good for the soul. Bell's Beach near Torquay we've mentioned. That's for the serious wave riders, the professionals, or those who aspire to be. Then you have places like Lorne Main Beach, which is much more family-friendly. A lovely sweep of sand, gentle waves usually, perfect for building sandcastles, or for tentatively dipping a toe into the Southern Ocean, which can be, it must be said, a trifle bracing, even in summer. But invigorating, that's the word. Apollo Bay also boasts a magnificent beach, long and wide, great for walking, for letting the dog have a run, if you have a dog and if it's allowed. Always check the signs. Australians are very keen on signs. Further west, as you get closer to the Port Campbell National Park, the beaches become wilder, more rugged, hemmed in by cliffs. Places like Gibson Steps, where you can walk down to the beach and feel dwarfed by the towering rock stacks. Some beaches are hidden coves, little secrets you might stumble upon. Others are vast expanses of golden sand. Each has its own charm, its own personality. You could spend weeks just exploring the beaches along this road, and some people probably do. They pack a towel, a good book, maybe a frisbee, and they just beach hop, which sounds like a rather excellent way to spend one's time, if you ask me. A very Australian way too. Section 8. The Stone Giants, meeting the 12 Apostles, give or take a few. And so, we come to them, the main event, the rock stars of the Great Ocean Road, the 12 Apostles, or, as it turns out, not quite 12 anymore. The sea, you see, is a relentless sculptor. It gives and it takes away, mostly takes away in this case. So there are fewer than 12 now. I think it's 7 or 8, depending on who's counting and how they're counting. But the 7 or 8 apostles doesn't have quite the same ring to it, does it? But never mind the exact number, they are spectacular. Truly, these colossal limestone stacks, rising out of the churning Southern Ocean, majestically, defiantly. They stand there, battered by wind and waves, and they are simply breathtaking. You can view them from various platforms, each offering a slightly different angle, a slightly different perspective on their grandeur. You'll jostle for space with other tourists, all oohing and ahhing and taking endless selfies. Which is fair enough. It's a selfie-worthy spot. Nearby you have other incredible formations. Loch Ard Gorge, for instance, named after that famous shipwreck. It's a stunning inlet, with towering cliffs, a beautiful sheltered beach, and a story of survival that makes it even more compelling. Then there's the Gibson Steps, where you can descend to the beach and stand at the feet of two of these giants. Gog and Magog, they're called, though I'm not sure which is which. They both look pretty imposing. The whole area is part of the Port Campbell National Park, and it's a geological wonderland. The London Bridge, which did fall down partly in 1990, leaving some unfortunate tourists stranded. The grotto, the arch. Nature has really gone to town here, carving out these incredible shapes. It's a reminder of the immense power of erosion and the slow, inexorable march of time. It makes you feel very small, but also very privileged to witness it, even if some of them have crumbled a bit. Section 9. The road's enduring magic. Why you'll carry it with you. So, you've driven the bends, you've seen the rocks, you've eaten the chips. What now? Well, the Great Ocean Road doesn't just end when the signs stop. It sort of stays with you. Corny, I know, but true. It's more than just a checklist of sights ticked off. It's a feeling, an experience that embeds itself in your memory, like sand in your shoes. But in a good way, mostly. There's something about the combination of that wild, untamed coastline and the sheer audacity of building a road along it. It's a testament to human endeavour and a showcase for nature's artistry. You'll remember the way the light changed, the roar of the ocean, the smell of the eucalyptus trees in the Otways, the taste of salt on your lips. These are the things that linger long after you've unpacked your suitcase and washed all the sand out of your clothes. It's a journey that invites you to slow down, to appreciate the world around you, which is something we could all do with a bit more of, I reckon, in our busy modern lives. It forces you to be present, to look, to really look, not just glance. And because of that, it feels like a proper escape, a genuine adventure, even if you're just pootling along in a rented hatchback with a slightly dodgy radio. Would I recommend it? Absolutely, without hesitation. Go, see it for yourself. Take your time. Stop often. Talk to the locals. They're generally a friendly bunch, even the seagulls in their own pushy way. The Great Ocean Road is one of those places that lives up to the hype, and then some. It's not just a great ocean road, it's a truly great road trip, and you'll be very glad you made the journey.